And welcome back to Trauma Teachers. This is Aaron,
Along with Patrick.
as always.
Yeah, we should have I'm gonna figure out how to do the PTI thing, and if
Nice.
I don't, that's why there's the gap. we have your elbow in.
Yeah, it's in there this time.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, absolutely nothing. I was just going to say minus the trash can this week.
Yeah, no trash can. And I was gonna say we do have some new fans, which is great.
Yeah,
not
awesome.
fans, some new people who want information. I'm already losing my mind.
You can
saw myself on YouTube.
You get trampled in the streets.
Saw myself on YouTube once and I can't get enough of myself. No, so we have some new people listening. So I did want to reiterate, like when last week, like you were calling out names like Johnny, Billy, and like
Yeah.
I think I said a name. We're always making those names up.
Yes.
We would never say anyone's name that's here. That's why we
Absolutely
both have our shirts on inside out because we both forgot we were filming today. So we'll never say the name of where we are or any of that stuff. Let's just make that clear.
And thank you to the new listeners, new viewers,
Fans.
and all that. Fans. All the people who are here for Pete Gill. But yes, also want to reiterate also that this is kind of, I know we discuss a lot of serious topics at times, but it is intended to be kind of lighthearted in a way to, just, we want to give a little exposure, a little information, but also it's, we would like to shine some of the positive, a lot of the positives that we do see. And,
Right. And the reason for that is we've been talking about this, like when, a lot of times, especially when you're in this field, you listen to podcasts about this stuff and it's just stats.
Yeah.
And the stats, which we will talk a little bit about today, are not like uplifting. And at the end of the day, at least me personally, I would want to listen to something that does give information, like you said, but also is like lighthearted and not just like, because anyone that works in this field knows the stats and how
right.
what an uphill battle it is for our children. So.
And just how quickly it can get, it can be kind of dark sometimes. So
It
I
can.
mean, we're still trying to build on Patrick's fan base here. So
yeah. I got some bumper stickers. It just says Patrick and then you're cut off.
Right, like my elbow from last week.
Yeah. All right, so that does bring me to my struggle of the week. My struggle of the week is, and reiterating, we'll never talk about like personal experiences of any of our kids, but this year especially, we just keep getting beaten down by bad news about former students.
Yeah.
And we've talked before about how you get a lot of positive news about former students. But when you get that news, it's just, and then look up the statistics, it just you can get down thinking about what the long-term outcomes are for the majority of our kids.
Right.
So.
My struggle of the week actually is because of the current situation and kind of how we are on campus right now. We haven't really gotten a chance to really get to know like all of the students fully and completely. One, because they're separated still by cottages and not by homerooms of how they would normally be. But also we aren't really seeing the true kids, I think, necessarily because once they get comfortable here, then we start to see some of their behaviors but some issues or concerns, or even just who they truly are. But being that we haven't adjusted to how we will air quote normally will be during the school day, with homerooms and regular classes and structures and all of those things, just kind of the anticipation maybe of what that might look like and how that adjustment will definitely be an adjustment for the kids and how they might react to that and how it's going to be tough for them. So just kind of wanting to see all of the personalities and all of the students of who they truly are, and how they're truly comfortable. Because I don't think anybody's really gotten truly comfortable yet, because it's hard to be comfortable how we are now.
Right, and the majority of the kids here now have never been through a normal day at school here.
Right.
So, like you said, we have that like honeymoon phase, and they're kind of all in that right now because the expectations are not low, but there's not a lot. Like they don't have to do work.
Yeah.
Like academic work, and they're not switching classes, and they're only interacting with a set like group of students that they're used to. So like
Right.
you said, we haven't seen who they truly are.
Yeah, we really hadn't started to mix personalities yet because they're with their cottage group, so they're used to the peers that they're with now. So we haven't necessarily had to blend any classes or any personalities. So we're still kind of.
And who knows when that's going to happen? But it's going to be a wild month or two.
Bit of an adjustment for everybody.
And your job's going to be terrible because you're going to have all the teachers and sport coaches be like, this student can't mix with this student, and this isn't working out, and then
Right.
having to navigate all that. Oh my gosh! But this week has been another you do have to give the kids some credit.
Oh,
for
they get
positive
all of the
behaviors,
credit. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's
For
just
sure.
Strange.
Yeah.
Strange
Strange
So
times.
my highlight of the week. So what do we do? We do about 5 minutes complaining a week. That's good.
Yeah, that's not
it.
bad.
That's not bad at all. Our highlight of the week is the staff. And we might complain to each other a little bit.
Yeah.
But everyone has been so positive with the kids. And as I talked about last week, like we're one of the few schools in the state that's in school, so it'd be very easy to be like, why are we here? You know, other people are still getting paid, they're not here. But I think staff has been overall very positive with the students and not letting them know, like just not giving them constant reminders of the situation,
Right.
like trying to make it as normal as humanly possible.
Right, and you know, the best that they can and we can. No, yeah, I agree. My highlight, I kind of have two. They happened this week. It's a good week.
Yeah.
Well, one of the, as I was talking about with the struggle and getting to know kids, I actually got an opportunity to know a little bit and kind of help one of our newer students who was kind of struggling. He's been here, this is his first full week being with us during the school day, and he had just kind of gotten really anxious, and he had missed a medication through the day and has kind of building up his anxiety about that, and he had started to get kind of down and was worried, and you know, back to kind of the struggle and how we don't really know. So I wasn't really sure like how he might react in this situation and you know how he might be. So it just took a little time. He and I went to the art room. We sat down. I gave him a chance to talk and broke out color pencils and paper. Man, art supplies. Shout out to Catherine.
Yeah.
Never hurt. So he got some of his feelings out. He kind of expressed a little bit. Got us a chance to kind of know each other a little bit, and then the art took over from there. I gave him the paper and the pencils, and he did the rest himself. So that was pretty cool. Just for us to get a chance to know each other just a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder how Catherine's inventory's doing.
Sorry, Catherine.
I mean, it's such a great outlet for so many.
Yeah,
of our
it really
kids.
is.
And it really sucks not having her here, but at least I could go in and like you said, grab colored pencils.
Her space is still available. All the great supplies are still there. Yeah.
I'm sure she's working on her virtual lessons for the fall.
Absolutely.
Did you have another highlight?
I did. It was a mini one. I wasn't sure how to celebrate it or not because I wasn't quite sure. Like I got a voicemail from a couple of former students.
Oh, that's great.
I wasn't quite sure. I was like, is this a prank or did they? Because it was kind of like they just found the number and then called the school, and I was like, I wasn't sure if they were just calling to crank, like I said, crank call,
Yeah.
or if they didn't even say anything like crank call.
I don't know, like crank yankers. Either way, they're thinking about you.
Yeah, I guess so. So I mean, even if take the good with the bad, I suppose. So.
All right. So we're getting to know you, which we did not discuss. So I want to.
You gonna go off the top?
Yeah, I'm gonna go off the top. I'm gonna say, let's see. What's your favorite? What was your favorite year in school? That's a tough one, but
I think it had to be freshman year, high school, right? We're talking high school.
yeah, high school.
Yeah, for a handful of reasons. First, it's the first introduction to high school. Of course, that was kind of there's that. But also, my brother was 3 years older than me, so he was still in school.
Nice.
And a lot of his friends were my friends, so that was great. And then started playing basketball, so I met all of those people. And then, of course, basketball season. And then leading up after the summer after freshman year, in between freshman and sophomore year, like when they still had summer school, that was optional that you could just go for and you could just hang out. So
That next year must have sucked. Because in college, all my friends, when I was a freshman, all my friends were juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
And then they graduate, you're just like, I don't know anybody.
Right.
What happened? I have no friends. Just like I having random people you want to hang out? No.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, and I wasn't like you back then. I didn't have very many fans just chasing me down all over the place. So.
Yeah. Well, I was a Division III athlete, so it comes with the territory. We had at least 8 people at one game. I counted.
Nice. So yeah, I would probably say freshman year between sophomore. All right, your turn, Patrick. Did you have a dream car growing up? Like when you were a kid, you're always like, man, I want a Ferrari when I was a kid.
I wanted one of those Mercedes. I'm not a big car guy. I don't have any interest. It's hard to ask me questions. But I always love those Mercedes Benz, like the wagons. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
those people
yeah.
have them in silver or black.
Yeah.
They're like boxy. I just love those for some reason. I don't know. So I really, really wanted one of those. But what I had was what was it? No, it was like a '91 Volvo sedan.
Okay.
And I said we used to roll into each other at stoplights.
Yeah.
So it was amazing for that because it had the bumper.
The bumpers.
Yeah, just go about a half mile per hour. Woo! And then someone would get you back. It was great. Fun times.
Oh, Patrick with the station wagon. All right.
Yeah, it's unreal. All right, so resource of the week, and this is not an uplifting resource, but
All right.
we got to give it to the people.
Some of the
you know?
stats. Some
Yeah.
of the stats
So this is a study from 2017, which I've seen a lot on Instagram this week for some reason. Now that I'm back on, I'm so weak. I just click on everyone's story, or whatever. But so people with every student here has some form of disability, whether it be mental, well, normally mental disabilities, right? And so this study, 2017, the average the average person with disabilities, 44% of them will be arrested by the age of 28, which is just an incredibly depressing statistic, and by race it's even worse. 56 Black and I think 46 Hispanic people by the age of 28 will be arrested.
That's insane.
And so not only so if you have a mental illness, going through the trauma of an arrest, right, and then you go to jail, where, if you have, anxiety would be the least of your worries. Like if you're schizophrenic, if you have any of that stuff, you're not. I'm sure they're getting some form of therapy, but you're in that environment, and then you say you get out 3 years later. Say you're 31.
Yeah.
You've been in hell for 3 years with not getting therapeutic services you need, and it just sets up a terrible. And I have no idea what the solution is, but we have to be able to do better than that. 44% of people with disabilities being arrested by age 28 is just that can't.
Yeah, there's got to be a filter or a stop gate in there somewhere to just help combat that. There
has to be. And I know we talk a lot about early intervention, and places like this are great, but our kids are still, when they leave, you don't cure mental illness.
Right.
Like in so many of our kids, we've talked about this, but they age out, whether it be at 18 or 22, and then all the services stop.
Yeah.
So then you're still mentally ill. You don't have a job. You don't have anywhere to live, and then you end up being homeless or addicted to drugs, and then you get arrested, and then, like I said, you get out 5 years later, and you have no idea what's going on. It's just unbelievable. So it's just. And as I was saying earlier, we've had a lot of bad news about former students, and you're just thinking who is helping these kids?
Right.
This kid's 19, with the brain of maybe a 9-year-old.
Right.
And no one's helping them out, so it's just.
Yeah, because like you said, they age out of wherever they might be, even leaving from here, and if their circumstances aren't different from when they got here, maybe their living conditions or their placements aren't different, then they're right back to where they started from.
And I don't know a lot about your childhood, but I would guess similarly, like when I was in college or in high school, my parents were telling me, you need to apply for a job, you need to do this, and the majority of our students do not have someone like that doing that.
Right.
Like, hey, you need to do this, you need to get a resume. Like our kids just don't have those skills, and so they're just kind of floating around, pretty much waiting for something bad to happen. And so, like I said, I don't have any solutions, but we have to be able to do better than this. It's just.
Well, recognizing it is the first steps. And then helping to make solutions is the next step. So.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before too, but I think the number one thing about working here is when you see someone on the street, you see someone on drugs, or you see someone wandering around, or your thought process has to change. As a society, we have to change. That person's not someone to be made fun of, or to put down. You should be thinking, what happened to that person? Is there any way I can help people in that demographic?
I was gonna say, and that's what I was gonna say. And maybe not even to, don't think how can I help that person? Maybe maybe just change it, like you said, how can I change? How can I help this population or this demographic? What is something that I can do? And it doesn't even have to be something big or great. Like we've said, even about here, donations or volunteering time or little small things. Even those things help.
And I think. Here, speaking just from here, mentors are huge.
Yes.
Because the kids know they don't have to be here.
Right.
They know, our kids aren't dumb.
No.
They know that I'm here. I love working here, but they know that I get paid. They know you get paid.
And they'll tell you.
Yeah, you're only here.
You're just here for the check.
Right. But mentors, they're here because they chose to be here, and the kids know that. And as my boy Dr. Bruce Perry says all the time, one consistent positive adult is sometimes for some kids all it takes. So,
be that person.
All right, I'm done preaching. let's move on. Sorry, on Feel Good Story of the Week.
Yeah, I think so. I think we are in the Feel Good Story of the Week. So let's feel good.
Yeah.
So this student, he came to us earlier this year. He came to us from another placement, and he was one of the students who it was very hard for transitions or change. So finding him here was, originally he was fighting it pretty tough. It was hard for him, and so we were seeing lots of elopement, and getting along with peers was tough. Time in the cottage was also seemed to be a problematic. but very very smart. And I wasn't sure how he was connected with his schoolwork when he first got here. Just wasn't interested. What were some of your earlier experiences with him?
I remember like vividly the first time I talked to him. He was in the hall, and I was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "All adults are bastards." And I was like,
All right.
I was like, "I've never met you before." And then he like went through why he felt like that, because he's very rigid. And
Yeah.
He kept talking about this former placement he had been in.
Yeah.
And we never know
Yes.
if the kids are if that's accurate.
What's
So
true, what's not true.
I'm not
Right.
disparaging any other placement, but he just kept saying they didn't listen to him, and he loves history, and they wouldn't like cater to his needs and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And the conversation went about 30 minutes, and I got nowhere. And he was also yelling out, "Let me get them toes," every 5 minutes in my class. And I didn't know if he was talking to me. It's like, I'm not wearing sandals around this kid. but he's like, he was always, like you said, so smart
Yeah.
and so funny, either intentionally or unintentionally. But he's like slowly become this awesome kid now.
I was gonna say, yeah, and he was and still is and can be very rigid and concrete. So like he would, if he perceived something to be not right, he would just, a lot of times he would just walk out. And a couple times he made it off campus, not very far, but he did. But like you said, has turned it around here recently. I think he's one of the kids that placement and finding the right peer group definitely helps. So the group that he's with now, the peers that he's with now, have been, I think, more his speed,
Yeah.
which allowed him to settle in. I mean, I don't think we're gonna take all the credit for him. So I
No.
give a big shout out to his therapist, of course, who's been putting in a lot of work with him. All the folks in the cottage.
And he's from like an overwhelmed school district,
Yeah.
and so I think he's just probably one of those kids that kind of slid through the cracks.
Mhm.
I mean, as wild as it sounds sometimes, because if you knew this kid, like a kid like that, they'll stay in public school, which is
Yeah.
not he just right now he can't function.
I'm gonna
there.
say that would not be
So the
fit.
bullying and all
Yeah.
that stuff, but his new obsession is healthy.
Right, he's taken on to the social injustices that
Yeah.
are going on right now. So he was, I don't know if he was taking a survey for himself or just polling all the people that he ran into. But this week he was in the hallways, and anybody that he came across or he would run into, he would pose a question of whether they were in support of Black Lives
Yeah.
Matter at the moment. So, and depending on their response, determined his response to them. So
He hit me with "Are you one of those all lives matter people?" And I say, "I agree that all lives matter, but no, I'm not one of those people that says that when people say Black Lives Matter." He goes, "We're good." And I was like, "Thank you that I passed this test." But he's so knowledgeable. Like he'll get obsessed
Yeah.
with these things, but he's actually like he knows what he's talking about.
He does.
Which is
Yeah.
I love that kid so much.
I'm gonna say it.
I was just gonna say this was what sucks about our situation. I don't get to see him.
Yeah, he's not in he's in the one place. So I mean, for you, I get a chance to bounce around the classes and kind of peek in and check in on everybody. But he doesn't come through you.
Yeah, I've seen him like twice, and
Yeah.
one time he hit with Black Lives Matter, another time it was just he like threw out some slogan, and I was like, "Come on, man! I haven't seen you I literally hadn't seen him in like 3 months."
Yeah, he was in support of me supporting Black Lives Matter right now. It was just like, good choice. That's a good answer.
I wonder what if he didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Well, I was not curious to find out what that.
Yeah, me neither. But I think he's another great example of when he's such a smart kid.
Yeah.
He's got so many talents. He's so funny. He's personable, but there are major gaps in his mental health and in the way he interacts with other people.
Right.
So he's gonna need support.
And those services need to be in place, and he was just like you were saying that for the kids that do leave us or are out there or age out. Like if the services are not put in place, this kid is a great example of like how great and successful he could be as long as those services are in place for him and are taken advantage of, and people look out for him in that way. Just how great he can and probably will be.
Because he could 100% hold a not that well-paying is important, but a well-paying consistent job that takes a lot of mental strength. But he's gonna probably need someone to tell him how to get to work, what time to arrive, like
Right.
how to schedule, and that stuff's gonna. If it was built up, like you said, if he has his services, he'll be great. But if not, then
And when you tell him the wrong answer to the Black Lives Matter question,
right. I mean, that's a good example. Like
in the street, it might not go so well.
Completely appropriate thing to be researching, and I'm so glad
Do you?
he's educating himself. But like you walk up to he's by himself in Walmart and starts walking up to random people, you might not get the response you want, unfortunately. And then
Right.
his response to that, who knows?
Who
at this
knows where it
point.
can be, right?
But I don't know.
But say all that to say that he's doing great
Yeah.
now. Like we both are, and not just us. Like anybody who comes in contact. I mean, we've had one of our other service managers who's been working with us this summer, and she fell in love with him almost immediately. So his effect on everyone is
Always
almost,
positive.
yeah, always positive, and almost instant.
Even-
Everybody loves him.
Even when he's not in a good place, he's so like endearing and intelligent. He's hard to describe, but I'm always happy when I see him. Like,
No,
always.
I mean, even good or bad, I'm always waiting for his response.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, like now it's whenever I bring lunch. So when he gets lunch, like he's very picky about whatever there might be. So it's like he's the only one kid where I will tell them what is for lunch before I even bring it in. So I'll bring the lunches and I'll set them down and be like, Johnny, this is what's on the menu today. He was like, he's either oh man or great.
Yeah. And I mean, that made me think a little bit about, because I did say some negative things. I'm probably just keeping it positive here. Feel the story week. His transition. I mean, now in transitions.
Yeah.
Even before all this happened, so he'd only been here a couple months. He would come in, sit down, because he's like pace around the room, check out all the books.
Right.
He would like yell at me that he was going to read a historic book. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care what you read. If you're reading, great.
Reading
Like,
is reading.
Yeah.
It's fundamental.
So he just started reading the textbook.
Nice.
He was like, I love this period of history. I was like, just read all about that. You can tell me about it whenever you want.
He's one of those great examples of like once the kids do get comfortable, just how much they will allow you access to them, and it'll change their personalities for you. Like he's definitely more. He used to just go silent too. So
Right.
and when you would try and redirect him for something or just to ask him what was wrong, but now like he's very open and engaging to like, hey, what's going on? Like he'll dialogue
Yeah.
you what he has no problem telling you what might be. Giving him a concern at the time. So that has been just even watching that transformation has been great.
Yeah, I mean, appropriately initiating dialogue
Right.
is a massive skill. One that I don't. I'm like hitting this
Still
on.
working on it.
Yeah, like sometimes I say stuff to people. I'm like, what did I just say? But yeah, I mean, I love him. We're all so happy for him. And again, that's another example of a kid. Our whole campus,
Right.
cottage, therapists,
Yeah.
school,
Everybody has put in work, and he is a reflection of everybody's hard work.
All right, well, shorter episode. So the fans, I'm sorry. but-
I mean, you only get a chance to get at this guy for I don't know 23 or so minutes. Sorry about that.
God, you're gonna have to wait till next week. I can't believe I said that.
Oh man, but unless you have anything else, Patrick.
No.
All right, man. Well, as always, it's been great, talking to you, and we've enjoyed you guys listening, and we look forward to you guys listening next week.
We could have talked.